Once you install local and all the technologies, it will install them all for you. What you're going to want to do is you're going to make a web page, like a host folder, and then you'll install WordPress and you will make a site locally. I'm doing air quotes right now. So locally, when you do enter WordPress, you're going to be presented basically with this interface. This is called the dashboard. Basically, when you're in this is the back end, is what we would call that. So it's not the part that the user sees. This is the part that the designer / developer interacts with. Now, you can do a lot of the design from the front end. There are different ways of doing that, and we'll cover those as well. But the back end is kind of where you would install the different options, change settings. You can also design in the back end as well, although people don't generally prefer that method. Right here, you can kind of see what the various things are. These are basically the menu items here. So the dashboard is just this thing in general. So you see dashboard, this is what you're going to see. Posts are basically blog posts. You also see that there are pages. Pages and posts are actually the same thing. They just have different tags. So you can say, oh, I want all my posts to show who wrote the page, right? Because that's something you would want on your post. But maybe on your pages, you'd be like, oh, I want all of those to, have a heading, or whatever. So you might, they're both basically pages. They're just ways of controlling them. So if you want something like a blog post, you typically use post. And if you want it to look like a web page, you'd use pages. Media is where all of your images, videos, basically any files that you upload, that's where media goes. And it literally can be anything. It doesn't have to even be a visual medium. I don't think I use it much in here, but you might notice like you can download the files, right? Like some of them might have like the sample files and things. Those are all in the media folder. So it's just the folder that holds all your stuff. Comments, you're never going to use this, but basically if you do have posts and you have areas for people to make comments, those will show up there. Appearance deals with the overall look of the site. You can do some things such as change the theme, adjust your theme. The theme is the overall aesthetic. It basically controls how all of your content is represented, both from a layout standpoint, the coloring, things like that. You can kind of look at it as the CSS of your WordPress. Okay, but you basically make adjustments there. Plugins. This is where most of like the real power comes from. WordPress. So WordPress has like default stuff that you can see that you'll use. But you can find plugins that will allow it to do all sorts of other stuff. Some stuff that is for the front end, where it could be something where, oh, I can install a calculator, or I can have like a plugin that like when they click on a video, it pops up bigger and makes everything dark, a light box. I could have a plugin that's specifically made for sliders so that they're nicer looking, or plugins that do this. That's for PayPal that allows me to do commercial work, right, or commerce. You can also have plugins that do other things. So I want a plugin that allows me to create my website, the pages, but from a visual standpoint. So it's something you interact with, or another plugin that keeps track of how many people have been to my website and where they've come from and things like that. There's all sorts of flexibility, and a lot of the power comes from plugins, because the default gray of this it's sort of generic, but the plugins allow you to like add all sorts of things. Users. One of the reasons why this is actually really useful is because when you have, you're a web designer, right? So you're going to make websites for clients. Well, you don't want to have, like, let's say it's a restaurant, right? And they have a new special every week. You don't want to have to make the website, send it to them. Oh, the special this week's blah, blah. And then you have to update it. What you can do is you can set users for the website. So you set yourself up as the administrator, but then you can have like the next person down and be like, oh, this person's a user. You give them their own login. You can keep track of what they're doing, and you can give them permissions to, change dates or to only look at the blog section. And so you can kind of spread out the work, but it's particularly good for a client situation because you can lock down like appearance and other things that they might like break it, but allow them to do other aspects where they're allowed to like make new pages or like this one section or something. So that's super useful. Tools. This isn't very helpful. We don't use it too often, but it allows you to like import, export. So you can take your site and like export out the entire thing as like a zip folder, that sort of thing. Settings are they're actually pretty limited. Most of the settings will be done mostly, honestly, on the appearance or whatever theme or plugin you have. But settings in this case just means like, what's the what do you call that? Like, is it Eastern Standard Time? Is that what you're using, or are you using West Coast or whatever? How do you want your time displayed? Things like that, like very generic-y kind of things. But this is your main way of interacting on the back end of the site.